Welcome to the deep dive and specifically our rugby obsession deep dive today.
Great to be here.
Our mission, as always, is taking the latest insights, the articles, the research, and really distilling it down for you, our listener.
Yep, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. And today, we're getting stuck into that recent Springboks versus Barbarians clash, a match with, well, quite a few surprises and takeaways.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, how did the World Cup champs manage such a dominant win against the Barbarians, especially when the weather was, let's say, less than ideal for flair?
Right. And what did it tell us about some new faces and also some pretty significant goodbyes?
We're going beyond just the score. We want to unpack the strategies, the standout players, those moments that really define the match.
Yeah.
So if you're as obsessed with rugby's details as we are, make sure you hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession for more chats like this one.
Definitely worth it.
Okay, let's dive in. So the big picture first. Springboks kick off 2025 with a pretty hefty win. 54-7 over the Barbarians at DHL Stadium.
Yeah, quite the statement for their first match of the year.
But the conditions, you mentioned them, they really threw a spanner in the works for the usual Barbarian style, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is how much the environment dictated things. Boss games, they're famous for attacking flair, amazing long-range tries, just brilliance with ball in hand.
That's the expectation, yeah.
But the Cape Town weather, well, it just poured down, pouring rain, and that made the signature Barbarian style nigh on impossible, really.
Kind of feel like that wet weather played right into the Springboks' strengths, though. Their kicking, their set piece.
Exactly. It suited their traditional game plan perfectly. They could lean on excellent kicking and just dominate the set piece.
And we saw that pay off early.
We did. First half, that approach created so much pressure. Errors from the Babas. And you had Malcolm Marks, Cheslin Colby, and Vincent Tshituka all getting tries.
So 19 Jello at halftime. Pretty commanding lead.
Yeah, it showed how well they adapted, controlled the game despite, the awful weather.
And that didn't really let up in the second half either.
Not at all. Jan Hendrik Wessels went over, then Kurt Liarenzi, Lood de Jager. Tshituka got his second as well, showed his engine.
The Barbarians did get one back eventually.
Melvin Jaminet scored around the 65th minute. A nice moment for them, but the Boks had the last word. Damien De Allende went over to hit that 50-point mark.
And that scoreline, it ended a long winless run for the Boks against the Babas, didn't it? Going back to 2000.
That's right. Yeah, adds a bit of historical weight to it. A really dominant display, start to finish. They knew how to win in those conditions.
Okay, but let's talk about the venue choice. Cape Town. I mean, the reasons given make sense on the surface. Boks needing game time, first Babas game in SA, maybe better ticket sales.
Yeah, the logic seems sound initially.
But there seems to be a bit of a critique there, that maybe it wasn't the best choice for the spectacle.
Well, that's the dilemma, isn't it? You tick the boxes for logistics, for player prep, maybe even marketability, but did it sacrifice the essence of a Barbarians game?
Because Cape Town's weather this time of year, it's often wet.
Exactly. It's pretty reliably wet, which just isn't what you want for that free-flowing, attacking Babas rugby. We've seen it before. Remember some of those World Rugby U20 champs games there? Conditions were really tough.
So what's the takeaway for the Babas then, and the fans? Sounds like a missed chance to see that signature style.
It does feel a bit like that. I mean, Springbok fans are happy with the win, obviously. But for the Barbarians as a concept, they couldn't really express themselves.
Yeah, it raises that question, doesn't it? Are we sometimes prioritizing the practical stuff over the actual entertainment, the unique flavor of these fixtures?
It's a really important point. Finding that balance between the competitive side and the sheer entertainment value. For the Babas, it was always more about the style. And the weather just, well, it stopped that.
Okay, so despite that chaos, the Springboks really showed their quality. It wasn't just a win. It felt like a proper test match performance, tactically speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Connect that to the bigger picture, and it just underlines the adaptability, the strategic thinking you need to be world champions, even when things don't go to plan.
And the kicking game was central to that.
Oh, it was superb. Not just kicking for distance, but real precision. Morne Vandenberg, Fassi, Feinberg, Moga Mazulu, Reinach, Libach, they all put boot to ball incredibly well.
Causing problems for the Babas back three.
All kinds of havoc, yeah. Pinning them back, forcing them to play from difficult positions under huge pressure. That aerial pressure and territorial control was immense.
And speaking of control, Lood de Jager. What a return. First game back in green and gold since before the World Cup, I think.
That's right, and you wouldn't have known it. He was sensational.
The analysis mentioned he picked apart the Barbarians' lineout. What does that actually look like on the field?
It means he wasn't just securing South Africa's ball. He was reading the boss calls, getting up to contest, disrupting their throw, stealing ball, basically turning their set piece into an opportunity for the Boks.
So disrupting their platform.
Exactly. His contesting was spot on. And then his work around the park, too, carries defense. He provided that real physical edge they needed.
And we should probably remember, Barbarians teams, they barely train together, do they? Maybe 1 or 2 sessions?
Yeah, that's standard. It's always a huge ask against a top international side.
And the conditions just made that challenge even bigger.
Definitely amplified it. But look, the Springboks still had to execute. They had a plan for the conditions, and they carried it out brilliantly. Full credit to them.
Right. Now, moving beyond the result itself, this game, even though not an official test, must have been gold dust for Rassie Erasmus, right? Seeing new guys under pressure.
Oh, absolutely. A massive opportunity.
What do you think he was looking for specifically? What were the key learnings for him about these players? This is where it gets really interesting for the future, I think.
Yeah, for Erasmus, it's about seeing who sinks or swims. Can they handle the step up, not just physically, but mentally? Composure, making good decisions under pressure, executing skills when it's wet and slippery.
And did anyone really put their hand up?
Well, the reports suggest several did. Look at Asanathi Nutlabakanya, the tight head. First scrum, him and Oxnatch just powered through, won a penalty against Cian Healy. That's a huge statement first up.
Doesn't get much bigger than Healy in terms of experience.
Exactly. And while the Babas scrum fought back later, Nutlabakanya looked like he belonged. He didn't look out of place at all. We'll definitely see more of him.
And Vincent Tshituka at flanker. 2 tries, strong defense. Filling Peter Steph Dutoy's boots is, well, impossible, but he made a good fist of it.
He really did. He excelled across the board, carrying, defense, line-out work. A really impressive showing. And Marnus van der Merwe off the bench, too, looked sharp. Good line-out throwing, physical.
What about the guys who aren't exactly new, but maybe cemented their place or showed something extra?
Well, Martin Vandenberg at scrum half, probably his best game in the 3 he's had for the Bucks. His kicking was outstanding, decision-making spot on. Erasmus compared him to Aaron Smith during the week.
High praise.
And he lived up to it in this game. And you can't ignore Cheslin Colby, obviously. Man of the match. Even in the wet, that footwork. Those moments of brilliance. Just dazzling.
And we have to mention Lood de Jager again. Just sublime. That line-out work, the general impact.
Absolutely immense return.
But maybe the biggest curveball was Andre Esterhausen playing in the loose forwards. What was that about?
Yeah, that was intriguing. Rassie throwing the big center into the back row.
How did he go?
Pretty well, actually. He thundered into contacts, as you'd expect, won a key turnover. He showed he could make that switch if needed.
It does make you think about versatility, doesn't it, in the modern game?
It really does. It raises that question about how important is it now for players to cover multiple positions. Coaches seem to value those multi-skilled players more and more. It's not just about jersey numbers anymore. It's about adaptability.
That's a great point. It'll be interesting to see if we see more of that kind of experimentation. And actually, on that note, we'd love to hear what you think. Which players, new or returning, caught your eye? What's their potential? Drop your thoughts over at Rugby Obsession. Subscribe. Enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, definitely share your views.
Okay, let's shift tone slightly, because this match also marked the end of the road for a couple of absolute legends of the game.
Yeah, some bittersweet moments for sure.
Cian Healy, first off, his final professional match.
An incredible servant to Irish rugby. And look, the score wasn't ideal for his send-off, but he showed his class, didn't he? That scrum was going backwards initially, and he helped turn it into, well, at least a functioning weapon by halftime.
Just shows his knowledge, his experience.
Exactly. A true student of the scrum, played both sides. He really dug deep in that final game, a mark of his professionalism.
And alongside him, Peter O'Mahony also played his last pro game, heading off to look after his garden, apparently.
So the reports say. But what a competitor he's been. For Munster, for Ireland, for the Lions. Just fierce for over a decade.
He maybe didn't dominate this particular game, given the conditions.
No, it was tough for loose forwards to impose themselves in that weather. But that shouldn't take anything away from his career. It's been incredible. Captained pretty much every team he played for.
That says a lot about his leadership.
It really does. And think about the moments he was central to for Ireland. Those first wins over the All Blacks, beating the Springboks in South Africa for the first time. Huge historic moment.
Two giants of Irish rugby bowing out together.
It really is the end of an era for them. And it just reminds you how much these individual careers weave into the bigger story of rugby history. Watching guys like Healy and O'Mahony go, it's not just stats, is it? It's the leadership, the grit, the presence they brought. Leaves a big hole.
Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet, isn't it? An incredible legacy they both leave behind. Their impact will be felt for a long time. Okay, so let's quickly recap our rugby obsession deep dive on the Boks versus Bobos. We saw the Springboks adapt brilliantly to tough conditions, showcasing their champion mindset.
Tactically very smart.
We saw exciting new talent emerge, suggesting the future is bright for the green and gold.
Some really promising signs there.
And yeah, we marked the emotional farewells of two true rugby icons, Cian Healy and Peter O'Mahony.
Legends of the game.
So even though the scoreline was pretty one-sided, there was actually a lot packed into that match.
Absolutely. Strategy, potential, legacy, it was all in there. A great snapshot of how top teams operate and plan.
Right, so as we wrap up, here's something to chew on. What are these kinds of games affected by weather, used to test new players? Tell us about where international rugby strategy is heading.
Ooh, interesting question.
Are we seeing like a bigger move towards that positional versatility we talked about? Or is it more about doubling down on core skills that work no matter the weather? How do you think teams are going to adapt to be ready for, well, anything?
Yeah, that's a fascinating one for the future of the sport. Lots to think about there.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Thanks, everyone.
If you enjoyed this chat and want more rugby analysis, please do subscribe to Rugby Obsession wherever you get your deep dives.
Please do.
We look forward to you listening to our next episode.